Imagine waking up inside a body that is not your own. Not in a nightmare, not on a movie screen, but in the cold, suffocating grip of 14th century England. You open your eyes, and the first thing that hits you is not light, it is smell. A thick, unrelenting fog of damp wool, tallow candles, human sweat, and the faint, creeping rot of rushes decaying beneath your feet. The room is freezing, but this is not the gentle chill of a drafty window. This is wet, bone-deep cold that seeps into your chest and refuses to leave, even as you pull the wool blankets tighter around your throat. You are about to get dressed, and the outfit waiting for you this morning weighs more than a small child, holds enough fabric to curtain 3 beds, and requires no fewer than 3 attendants nearly an hour to put on your body correctly. You are a queen, and in the year 1350, that title does not protect you from anything. It simply guarantees that your suffering will be more elaborately decorated. You think power means comfort. You think a crown means safety. You think silk means warmth. Before this day is over, you will understand why every single one of those assumptions is catastrophically wrong. Could you survive a single week dressed as a medieval queen in 14th century England? Not survive in the comfortable sense, not the way you imagine when you picture velvet gowns and candlelit feasts. Could you endure the weight, the immobility, the infections and the politics stitched into every seam? What Queen Philippa of Hainault endured every single day, or what Queen Isabella, the she-wolf of France, carried as she navigated the most dangerous court in Europe. History recorded the duels and the ceremonies. It forgot to tell you about the open sores, the crushed rib cages, the permanent spinal damage, and the women who died before their 40th birthday, still laced into their gowns. England in 1350 was a kingdom drowning in catastrophe. The Black Death had arrived just 2 years earlier, carried in the holds of wool ships docking at Weymouth. Within 18 months, it had erased 30 to 40% of the entire population. Nearly 2 million bodies in the ground in less than 2 years. King Edward III watched his own daughter, Joan, die of plague in Bordeaux while travelling to her wedding. He wrote a letter describing a grief so vast it had no bottom. And yet, Edward still held court. His queen still dressed every morning. Because in the medieval world, the performance of power never stopped, even when power itself was rotting at the seams. The feudal structure placed 90% of the population in permanent agricultural servitude. At the very top sat the royal household, surrounded by 300 to 500 individuals whose sole purpose was maintaining the visual machinery of monarchy. Ladies in waiting, chamberlains, seamstresses, embroiderers, an entire army of people dedicated to the dress. Because the dress was not merely clothing, it was a political document worn on a human body. The foundation of a queen's outfit was not a single garment, but a layered system of up to 8 separate pieces. It began with the smock, a coarse linen undergarment that reached the ankles. Linen in this period was not the soft cotton of your modern sheets. It was heavy and abrasive, capable of chafing the skin raw with each movement. The smock was washed roughly every 3 to 4 days, meaning for the majority of the week you were wearing fabric saturated with your own sweat, oils, and shed skin cells. Over the smock came the chains, and then the first woolen kirtle for thermal regulation. In a stone castle, where interior temperatures rarely exceeded 10 degrees Celsius, even in the Great Hall, this was not about comfort, it was survival. But it was the second kirtle that changed everything. Laced tightly at the back, this fitted structural layer acted as an external corset, compressing the lower ribs and upper abdomen with such force that modern paleopathologists have identified permanent deformation of the rib cage in women who wore these garments daily from adolescence. Queen Philippa had been wearing fitted kirtles since the age of 7. By 1350, her skeleton had been shaped by the garment for 3 decades. The outer gown, the cote hardie, was the visible political statement. Royal cote hardies were made of cloth of gold. real silk woven with gold wire, with a weight per square meter exceeding modern denim. Velvet imported from Italy was stiff, heavy, and did not breathe. Wearing it meant trapping heat unpredictably across your torso while your extremities remained numb. The sleeves featured tight buttoning from elbow to wrist. A single sleeve required 40 individual buttons. At 10 seconds per button, that was nearly 7 minutes per sleeve, 14 minutes total, every single day. Over the course of a year, a lady-in-waiting spent roughly 85 hours doing nothing but fastening and unfastening those sleeve buttons. The headdress completed the architectural nightmare. The crespine, a net of gold wire gathering the hair on both sides of the head, added significant weight to the crown, transferring pressure down through the neck and into the spine. Hair was not washed with shampoo. It was cleaned periodically with harsh lye mixtures that caused dryness and irritation, becoming a thriving habitat for the lice that were entirely democratic in their appetites. Queen or peasant, the louse did not discriminate. Now, imagine a feast day. You have been dressed since 6 in the morning. It is now midday. You have attended Mass in the royal chapel, kneeling on stone floors for nearly 2 hours, the cold seeping through the padded kneeler and turning into sharp pain within 15 minutes. You process through the Great Hall, walking 200 meters with a 4-foot train, navigated entirely by the lady behind you, ensuring it doesn't catch on rushes or uneven flagstones. You sit for 90 minutes at the high table, but you eat sparingly because the tightness of your kirtle makes consuming more than small portions genuinely, physically painful. The meat on your plate has been heavily salted for preservation and cooked in sauces drenched in vinegar and spices to mask the taste of partial spoilage. The combination of rich, salted meat and the compression of your lacing creates a digestive environment that court physicians described with frankness in medical Latin, but which etiquette carefully concealed in public. When you do fall ill, the physician arrives with leeches, bloodletting, and prescriptions containing lead, mercury, and arsenic. Treatments as likely to kill you as to cure you. The friction of the garments is relentless. Where seams press against the skin, abrasions develop. Where metal clasps touch the neck or wrists, contact dermatitis flares. Beneath the breasts, where the lacing is tightest, the constant chafing turns into open sores. These wounds cannot heal because the dress is put on again the next morning and the next. There are no sick days in queenship. The full ensemble on a formal day weighs between 12 and 18 kilograms. That is the weight of a large suitcase distributed unevenly across your shoulders and hips for 14 hours. This weight causes continuous strain on the trapezius muscles and lumbar spine. Skeletal remains of high-status medieval women reveal a specific pattern of vertebral compression and arthritic degeneration, the literal marking of the crown on the bones. The shoes are arguably worse. Built on symmetrical lasts with no distinction between left and right, featuring extended pointed toes called poulaines, they offer zero arch support. Walking on damp stone floors produces blisters, calluses, and chronic foot infections. The garderobe, the castle toilet, is an unheated stone closet built into the outer wall. Navigating there in your multiple layers requires assistance, and the trip is a spectacle of spectacular cold. Bathing, in the full sense, happens perhaps once every 3 weeks. Between times, you rely on dry washing and perfumes to mask the accumulating biological record of your body. Menstruation is managed with folded cloth, changed with the help of trusted attendants, with no disruption to the public schedule. Pregnancy, for a queen, is both biological and intensely political. Philippa bore 12 children, an extraordinary survival rate, but each pregnancy carried a 1 in 50 risk of death per birth. The odds accumulated into an existential threat that every royal woman understood with absolute clarity. Yet, these women were not simply victims. Philippa of Hainault threw herself to her knees before the king in her full formal dress to spare the burghers of Calais, weeping until Edward relented. She managed a war-torn court patronized scholars, and navigated the aristocratic rivalries of the 100 Years' War, all while carrying 18 kilograms of fabric and gold wire. The dress was the cage and the weapon simultaneously. The legacy of what they endured is our modern fashion industry. The tailoring revolution of the 14th century gave us fitted construction and complex pattern cutting. The trade routes bringing silk, velvet, and fur established the foundations of the global textile economy. When you look at a portrait of a medieval queen, you are looking at someone who carried the weight of civilization on her body. In kilograms of fur and gold, and in every political calculation embedded in every jewel. If you made it here, you are not the kind of person who settles for the surface version of history. You want to know what it actually felt like, what it smelled like, what it cost. That is exactly why this channel exists, to pull the truth from beneath the embroidery. If anything you heard today stayed with you, subscribe so you never miss the next descent into the past. Share this with someone who loves history the way you do. The women who wore the Queen's dress in 1350 did not survive in spite of the weight. They survived because of it, because the weight taught them an endurance that no comfort could ever provide. And the world you are sitting in right now was built entirely on what they held.